with the Round Rock Honey Company and owner Conrad. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
This morning we are reading none other than the Five Bizzy Honeybees. Thanks so much, Conrad. That was an awesome book about the bees. So, do we want to start with our behind-the-scenes tour?
Sure.
Do you want to explain a little bit about the suit for the kids?
Sure. Okay, so the bee suit here is made of a very special fabric. This material here is actually 3 layers thick, and it breathes. It's very important that it's ventilated like that. That means that it allows air in, because you can get really hot in these things. And then we have our gloves here, what I'm putting on. And these gloves are very, very, very important because they protect your hands. And they also have ventilation here. Now the bees, they come out, they don't want to cause any problems or make anyone upset, but they've got to protect their hive. So what they're going to do is, as we get closer, they're going to come and they're going to kind of bump us, and that's their way of warning us, saying, hey, stay away. And so whenever we start to see that from the bees, what we'll do is we'll use our smoker and we'll smoke the hive, and that will get the bees to basically essentially calm down a little bit. It prevents them from communicating alarms with each other so that they all don't get so worked up and so agitated. And then once we've got the smoke in there, we give them a second and we open up the top and look and see what's going on. Now, if you want to come over here closer to the hive, you can see, look at all the little guardian bees on the front porch there. But see, you can see them, their little heads, they're looking right at us. And they're saying, what are you guys doing? Are you here to hurt me? And of course, we're not here to hurt them. So they're just kind of checking us out. Now, to make them feel safe, we're going to go back behind the hive.
Oh.
Now, we're going to try and take a quick look without using a smoker. So what might happen is the bees might come pouring out the top, and if they do, then we're going to quickly shut it, and that'll probably be the end of the show.
Okay.
but yeah, you gotta come up really close though.
Let's get this shot.
The bee suit will protect you, okay? So you're not going to get stung or anything like that. So I'm feeling it to feel how quickly it comes out or how attached it is, and it is very well attached. So the bees have used what's called propolis to seal this top.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know if I can even get it open without using my hive tool.
Woo.
See them?
Wow.
Now, they haven't yet figured out that we're up here, but we need to shut this so that it's really for their protection and for ours.
And so that was part of the comb.
Yeah, those were the frames that have, those are frames that we just harvested.
Okay.
So they're empty, and the bees are going to work on refilling them. Now, it is kind of a dry period right now, so these periods of rain that we're getting ready to have are going to be critical for the bees to be able to have more nectar and more pollen to make more honey. But we've started them in the right direction. We gave them the empty frames that they can now fill, and they don't have to build all the wax, and all they have to do is clean it up and refill it. So.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
So as far as like weather patterns, you mentioned the rain and the weather definitely impacts the honey production.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, the rain can be a blessing and a curse. The rain that allows for good honey production is that slow, steady drizzle. The rain that can hurt honey production is the rain that is very heavy because it washes all the pollen off the plants, and it also causes a nectar surge within the systems of the plants that allows, like on this tree over here, for example, it will push all the lightest, sweetest nectar out, and out of the vesicles of the plant, and it'll drip down onto the ground before the bees can get it. So a heavy rain is not necessarily good, but a light rain is. And so if we get weeks and weeks and weeks of warm days, cool nights with a little bit of either fog or some sort of really light moisture like that, light, easy moisture, drizzle, anything like that's perfect for honey production.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
I never
So that's a good thing about like when next time you're sitting at home and you're like, I can't really go outside and play. It's a dull, dreary day.
Uh-huh.
You know, hey, you can at least be happy knowing that the bees are hard at work making honey on those days.
Oh,
So
wow. I will definitely think about that the next time that it drizzles
yeah,
or light rains.
yeah,
So can you explain to us the different levels? Are there different tiers
sure.
of the hive?
So these thicker boxes down here, these are what are called brood chambers, and brood chambers are where the queen lays her eggs. And then on top here, these are the shorter ones or the more shallow ones. Those are called supers. And so whenever we have a full super of honey, the reason why we need it to be shallow instead of deep is because these things can get really heavy. I mean, one full super can weigh 80 to 100 pounds.
Wow.
And so if it's a deep super, it can weigh a lot more than that. And so that's why we want a shallow super, is so that they're easier to carry around, easier to manage, easier to handle. But yeah, up here is where the honey's produced.
Mm-hmm.
Down here is where the babies are born.
Wow.
So
Can you kind of walk us through like when these are actually filled with honey, kind of the process you go through?
yeah, so we go through about once every few years and make sure that the queen is strong and that she's laying. If she's not, then either we'll put in a new queen or the bees themselves will create a new queen. And that new queen will start laying eggs, just like in the book, one after another, until they build up what's called a critical mass of bees. They have to have a certain number of bees in the hive that allows them to go out and forage and sustain activities. And then eventually they're going to have a surplus of honey.
Okay.
And that surplus is what they put up here on the top. Now that surplus usually comes to a head in June, and that's usually when, in Texas at least, that's when that happens. And then we go in and we harvest and go from there. So and then put the empty frames back in and allow them to fill them again. Usually by October is when they're going to fill them for the second time, and October, November, and then we'll harvest them then. So we usually get 2, sometimes 3 harvests in a year.
Oh, wow.
So per hive. Yeah.
And so from there you store the honey until you produce different batches throughout the year?
So those barrels over there, that's what we put the honey in. We leave them out here after we've drained them.
Okay.
So that the bees can clean them, because those things will be incredible. I mean, they look like old dingy barrels, but they're not. They're actually food grade barrels, and the bees will go through and make those things cleaner than we could get them, unless we use some sort of like sanitizing device. But as far as for our purposes, they'll be picked clean. There won't be any sugar crystals on them because the bees will have gone through and scrubbed everything out. And the bees take that honey, that is their honey, you know, so they'll go in and they'll clean all that up, and then they'll come back out here and put it back into the hives or use it to keep the hive going as food. So
I know that you guys make wildflower honey, is that right?
yes.
And can you explain to the kids a little bit about like wildflower honey versus different types of honey?
Yeah, so wildflower honey just means that it's a mix of all the naturally occurring flowers.
Okay.
Some beekeepers will put their hives on farms. Some will put them in like groves of trees.
Yes.
We don't like to do any of that because we like to have wild pollens, and we believe that nature knows a lot better than we do how to mix pollens and you know, what to naturally select what's in season and what's not.
Yes.
So, and also what's native and what's not. And so, so yeah, we always put our hives on ranch land as opposed to farmland.
Is there like a difference in the taste?
Yeah, there's absolutely. So wild honey or ranchland honey tastes more balanced.
Okay.
So whether it tastes super sweet or not as sweet as, say, a previous year, however it tastes in relation to another year, it's going to be more balanced than say a cultivated honey. The cultivated, what I mean by that is like a honey that from bees that are on a farm or something like that.
Wow, this company is truly a gem of Round Rock. If you ever need honey, want to learn about bees, you know where to come, the Round Rock Honey Company. Thanks so much for joining us for this Book Days episode, and we'll see you next time.